Hi everybody, my name is Jason Mendelsohn and I'm a survivor of HPV-related tonsil cancer. I was diagnosed in 2014. Quite honestly, back then I had never heard of HPV at a high level. I knew that it had something to do with cervical cancer. I had no idea back then that there were other cancers caused by HPV. HPV is the most common sexually transmitted virus on the planet. 3 out of 4 adults by 30 have the virus. 62% of freshmen in college. And in the last 48 months, tongue, throat, and tonsil cancer caused by HPV has actually surpassed cervical cancer and become an epidemic among men between 40 and 60, although this also impacts women. So why am I chatting with you today? Quite honestly, it's because I believe that a parent's number one job is to protect their kids in life. And while I am just a survivor, not a doctor, I always recommend to parents and to grandparents to speak with their son's, granddaughter's pediatrician about the HPV vaccine. There is no difference than if there were a vaccine that would protect your daughters from breast cancer, or your sons from prostate cancer, lung cancer, other cancers. This is a vaccine that is cancer prevention, and we have the ability to protect our sons and daughters from a virus they will likely be exposed to. That being said, I'm known as Superman HPV within the head and neck cancer community. My friends called me Superman during chemo and radiation. They said I was tough like Superman. I didn't feel very tough back then. When I was diagnosed, I had never heard of the diagnosis, never known anyone to be diagnosed with it. This was again 2014. They told me at the time I was stage 4, which made me panic. I ended up having a radical tonsillectomy, neck dissection, so 42 lymph nodes removed from my neck. I have a scar that runs from the bottom of my right ear to the center of my throat, followed by 7 weeks of chemo, radiation, and a feeding tube. Chemo was pretty much every Thursday for 6 to 7 hours. By the time they took my blood, weighed me, flushed my kidneys, gave me cisplatin, which was my chemo drug, flushed my kidneys again. The whole process took 6 or 7 hours. And then I had radiation 5 days a week where my head is clipped down to a table. It's not painful to actually go through radiation. What is painful are the side effects from radiation. So yeah, if you don't like to be, if you're claustrophobic, having your head clipped down to a table for 5 to 10 minutes isn't awesome. But radiation is like having a sunburn on top of a sunburn on top of a sunburn on top of a sunburn. So, 4 to 5 weeks in for me, I had 3rd-degree burns in my throat. It felt like someone had shoved shards of glass down my throat. I had sores in my mouth. I was in bed 18 hours a day for a month. I had a feeding tube where I had 5 Ensures a day, 2 Gatorades a day through that feeding tube, constantly getting dehydrated. During that time, I never was sweating. I never had diarrhea. I never threw up, but I was getting dehydrated because the 3rd-degree burns in my throat were sucking the fluid from the inside out. I will tell you, as a guy, and at that time my twins were 12, my boy-girl twins were 12, my son was 6, my wife and I used to go on date nights every week. I was traveling 2 to 3 times a month all over the country for work. I was working 50 to 70 hours a week. I was attending all my kids' sporting events. At the end of the day, I was in bed 18 hours a day for a month, and I was exhausted. I was truly exhausted. And the fact that I can share this with you today, hopefully you find it compelling enough to go speak with your son's or daughter's pediatrician. Or if you're someone who's a young adult, let's just say you're 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever you are, and you have a bump that appears on your neck out of nowhere, a sore in your mouth that's just not healing, or you feel like you have something in your throat that's not going away. Someone once described it as a fishbone feeling in their throat. Immediately go see your ear, nose, and throat doctor, because my experiences told me over speaking with hundreds of patients over the years, survivors, caregivers, that it takes people time to get to an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and that's key. When you go to the dentist and they do the oral cancer screenings, thank them, because that's another way people get diagnosed by their dentist or dental hygienist. At the end of the day, we're trying to do a lot of work. The HPV Cancers Alliance is fantastic. Lillian, Marcia, Dan, and the entire team there is doing a tremendous amount of work, working to eliminate all HPV-related cancers. I learned about HPV-related anal cancer from Lillian, and I had literally never heard of it, didn't understand it. There's stigmas associated with all HPV-related cancers, which we're working to eliminate, because again, it's a virus that 3 out of 4 adults by 30 have, and most people come in contact with it. And so whether it's eliminating HPV-related anal cancer, cervical cancer. The leading cause of cervical cancer is HPV. And that's why women need to go have pap smears every year, have an exam every year or every other year, whatever it is. I'm not a woman, so I don't know that perfectly, but there are screenings. Oropharyngeal cancer, tongue, throat, tonsil, what I described earlier. I am passionate about helping people get through the treatment, as well as understand up front what could be a sign or symptom that you have an issue, and to promote and educate people about the vaccine so they can protect their sons and daughters, grandsons and granddaughters. So again, a lot going on. The US is working to eliminate all HPV-related cancers. We need to get aboard and make this happen so we can get ahead of Australia and Canada that have really stated they're going to be the first countries to eliminate these cancers. But let's go US. And that's really it. HPV Cancers Alliance is crushing it. I serve on the executive board as well of the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance. And I have my website, Superman HPV, which again, find me on social media if you need anything. And you can always call my cell phone or text me, 407-782-5614, 407-782-5614. And let's go. Let's get rid of these cancers so people don't have to have all the side effects and go through the hell of treatment like I did and so many others did as well. Last, I'll end on this. I made videos to my 3 kids saying goodbye in 2014. Those videos went something like this. One day you're gonna get married. I'm not gonna be there. This is what's important. And I made those videos over and over and over again, knowing that if they were the last things my kids ever heard from me, that I wanted them to be perfect. And I share my story with you today. I'm proud to serve on the board of the HPV Cancers Alliance and the Head and Neck Cancer Alliance, because I know that through doing what we do, I can hopefully and really believe in my heart that I can stop other parents from ever having to make similar videos to their kids saying goodbye. So thank you so much. And please know the signs and symptoms, speak with your kids' pediatricians, and we can do this working together, eliminate all these HPV preventable cancers. Thank you.